Welcome, everybody, to the Hank Haney Podcast here on nofilter.net. The Hank Haney Podcast is brought to you by haneyuniversity.com and hankhaneygolfstudio.com. Those are my two websites. That's where you can go out and find out all the information about getting some help with your golf game from yours truly. And I am happy to do it. Looking forward to helping as many people as I can. And I've had a great time doing it. My new golf studio's open. My online lessons are going. Everything is rolling. And it's the middle of golf season, and it's U.S. Open week. I figured this is the time to get the podcast rolling for the U.S. Open preview at one of my favorite golf courses, Oakmont. Matter of fact, I have Oakmont in my, I don't know where it is, my world ranking. People ask me all the time, Hank, what are your favorite golf courses? And I would say Pebble Beach. I put Pebble Beach up there. I put St. Andrews up there. I put Royal County Down up there. I put Pine Valley up there. There's a golf course in Chicago called Shore Acres, which is a Seth Rayner course. I have that up there. And then, of course, I probably have Augusta up there, especially if during the tournament. My favorite tournament by far is the Masters. And then Oakmont would be on my list as well. I'm not sure where all these courses would fall, but Oakmont is definitely in my top 10. I am a big fan of Oakmont. Now, I'm not a big fan of the U.S. Open for many, many reasons. Number one, I think, is because the USJ always has a way of screwing up the U.S. Open or something that's going to happen at the U.S. Open. And in fact, Oakmont, during the Open that Dustin Johnson when was that? 2016. That's where they laid the penalty on him. First, they told him it wasn't a penalty, then it was a penalty. And he ended up winning anyways. DJ did. Lucky for the USJ, that would have been quite a controversy and even a bigger black eye than it already was. But anyway, they always screw up something at the U.S. Open. So the question is always, what is the USJ going to do to screw up the U.S. Open? Which although Oakmont is one of my favorite golf courses, the U.S. Open is probably my least favorite. Well, it is my least favorite of the majors. I'm not a big fan of all the carnage or whatever people call it when the pros go out there and shoot a million. And it looks like that could be the case this year based on the rough. Everything I've seen on the X on Twitter, pictures of the golf course, pictures of the rough. People dropping balls, can barely even find it. The rough's 5 inches deep. And of course, it's not just any 5 inches deep. It's a consistent 5 inches deep. And it's a rough that is heavily fertilized. It's as green and lush as you can get. And of course, they've been getting rain up at Oakmont. I think they had a couple inches of rain on Saturday or Sunday. So the week before the tournament, it's wet as can be. Forecast for a little rain later in the week, so it could get even wetter. The grass is going to be growing, and it is lush as can be. Maybe they'll top the rough off, but there's nothing they can do to make it less thick. They could go out there and cut that rough like crazy, and they won't, but they could, and it would still be an absolute mess. You're going to have to drive the ball in the fairway every time you hit it in the rough. You're going to have to get the ball up and in from some distance short of the green. And as a result, the U.S. Open will be very, very, very difficult. Now, when DJ won in 2016, he won with 4 under par. And I think he was the only player under par. Okay. In 2007, when I was there with Tiger Woods and Tiger lost by a shot to Angel Cabrera, Angel Cabrera shot 5 over par. by the looks of things, this U.S. Open will be won with an over par score. If it's anybody shooting under par, it'll be one guy, and he'll win by a bunch. So there's going to be nothing but over par scores. I mean, that's just what you're going to see up there. Now, here's what usually happens at the U.S. Open. First round, 20, 25 guys under par. After the second round, there's about 15 guys under par. After the third round, there's about 8 guys under par. And after the final round, there's about 1 guy under par. So it's just a war of attrition. And the thing is that once you get above whatever the winning score is, let's say the winning score is what Cabrera shot back in 2007. Let's say the winning score is 5 over par. Let's say this is a tough U.S. Open, just as an example. And I think it will be, because I think the USJ is kind of, I think they're ready for a tough one. And I think that's why they're setting up Oakmont the way they are. Now, remember, the greens at Oakmont are going to be rolling about 14 or 50. They're the fastest greens in the world. They're super sloped. They're tough greens to putt. The members there love it when the greens are so fast. They love it when they have their tournaments or their guests come play, and the first thing they do is they putt it off the first green. The greens are just diabolical. I mean, they are faster than you think. You've played fast greens until you've played Oakmont, and then you know what fast greens really are. So the greens are ridiculously fast. The rough is incredibly deep. It's at least a half shot penalty every time you drive it in the rough. Players are going to drive it in the rough. They're going to drive it in the rough 4 or 5 times in a round of golf. You drive it in the rough 6 times. You hit 8 fairways. Drive it in the rough 5 or 6 times. You're 2.5, 3 over par already. And how are you going to make that up? They're in birdie holes out there. Remember, they've got a 290-yard par 3. They've got a 235-yard par 3. The greens are tough to putt. Where are you going to get your strokes back? And you're not. So when you get over par, and then specifically when you get over the winning score, so let's say the winning score is going to be 5 over par. As soon as you get to 6 over par, now that could happen, and that will happen in the first 9 holes for good players. I think that's going to happen for a lot of players, but it could happen for good players in the first 6, 8 holes. It could happen for sure in the first 9 holes. Somebody will be 6 over par. No matter what happens, they're not coming back to win that golf tournament, because there's no coming back. Once you pass that score, the winning score, you're done. You're done. There's not a bring it back, because it only gets tougher as the tournament goes on. I mean, unless some fluke happens and it rains a lot on Saturday night, and Sunday you got a chance to shoot a low score because the greens are soft. I just don't see a Johnny Miller 63 at Oakmont happening this year. I don't think it's going to happen. So once you get above the winning score, you're done, and as a result, there is no comebacks. Like at the PGA, there can be a comeback. At Augusta, as hard as it plays, Augusta National plays tough, but there's a good score out there. A good score at the U.S. Open is even par. So it's hard for people to come back. They don't come back. And as a result, you just eliminate people. And that's pretty much how I always pick a tournament anyways. I think, okay, here are all the guys that have no chance. Here are the guys that have a chance. And after the first round, half those guys that have a chance will be done. They'll be gone. They'll be over the winning score, and they'll be out of the tournament. And it's very few players that have a chance to win. So typically at the U.S. Open, the leaderboard will not be a great leaderboard. Like, that's one of the things I love about Augusta. I love it about the Open Championship, the British Open, the PGA. There's good leaderboards. I mean, they're great. They typically have great leaderboards. The U.S. Open typically has a leaderboard that you look up there and you say, who are some of these guys? Now that's kind of the PGA Tour nowadays, but it'll be the U.S. Open too, because it always is. and there'll be surprises. Surprise people in contention. But when I pick a winner at a U.S. Open, well, when I pick a winner at any golf tournament, I always go with the best player. For years and years and years, I coached Tiger Woods, and I picked Tiger Woods every year because to win every tournament, and half the time he did. So I was right half the time. I picked Scottie Scheffler to win every tournament because he's far and away the best player in the world, not even close. And in fact, Scottie Scheffler has finished top 10 in his last 6 U.S. Opens, including second, 2023 and 2000. Last 2 years, he's finished second. So he's coming off a PGA win, coming off a Memorial win, coming off a Byron Nelson win. I mean, this is an absolute no-brainer. Now, you can't hardly make any money betting it. You bet 100, you win $275 on a guy to win a golf tournament, which is like, I mean, that's nuts. So, I mean, even though I'll pick Scottie Scheffler to win, if you ask me, Hank, do you want Scottie Scheffler the field? I'll take the field. It's just so hard. Anything can happen, and he could have one bad 9, and like I said, tough to come back. But if you're going to pick somebody, you got to go Scottie Scheffler. It's not even close. So the question now is who else do you think has a chance, or who else do I think? Because that's what you're listening to this podcast. You want to think, okay, you want to see what I think are the chances that players have to win a tournament. Okay, Bryson DeChambeau is at 800 odds. So bet 100, win 800. The way he hit the ball at the Masters, played great, but didn't hit it that great. The way, he bombs it. I just don't. I don't know if he can put the ball in enough fairways. He'll compete like anything. The guy's the hardest competitor there is. I don't see it there. And he won. He's the defending champion, but he won at Pinehurst, and that's a different story. You can get around Pinehurst without hitting fairways. You cannot get around Oakmont without hitting fairways. So I wouldn't have him real high on my list. McIlroy is coming off the Masters win, clearly the second best player in the world. It's Scheffler, McIlroy, and Bryson DeChambeau as the best players in the world. And then after that, I'd put John Rahm and Xander Schauffele. That's what I'd put. Those are the guys. I don't know who would debate that. I don't think you could. Those would be the guys that I would put. McIlroy's played horrible in Canada. Not hitting his driver good, trying to find a driver he can hit. U.S. Open, driving the ball is not where you're going to find your game. The word is in the practice round, he was like 7 over par after 9 holes. And wasn't thrilled to death with the depth of the rough out there. And he's got his career Grand Slam and has talked about how it's hard to get motivated now because of that. He's kind of accomplished that goal. I would bet on Rory. If you want to make a bet, I wouldn't bet on Rory to win. I'd bet on Rory not to make the cut. And that's not I'm not saying Rory's not a great player. He's phenomenal. It's just that, I mean, there's going to be so many great players not make the cut. It's going to be ridiculous. So you pick him, and he would be one of them based on where this driver's going lately. You got Schauffele and John Rahm on my list. And, Rahm has finished top 10. And a lot of people will poo-poo this, but he's finished top 10 in like every LIV tournament there is. Now, he's not, necessarily winning them all. He had a tough last 9 holes at the PGA. But John Rahm is a competitor. He's won the U.S. Open before. I like John Rahm to have a chance here, and I like Schauffele to have a chance. Even though he hasn't had the greatest of years, I can see him finding his game. His game's been rounded in his shape a little bit. He's got the demeanor for a U.S. Open. He's won a PGA and an Open championship, and you know what? He needs that. He needs that U.S. Open to get one step closer to the career Grand Slam. So I like Xander Schoffley, and those are kind of my top guys: Scottie Scheffler, Rahm, Schauffele, and then you just got to start taking a guess. But I like a Morikawa there. I'm not opposed to a Justin Thomas pick. He's been playing pretty darn good. Victor Hovland has a game that I think is a good U.S. Open game. I don't know about Koepka. He's a U.S. Open player, but he didn't play great at the LIV tournament in Virginia, and maybe he's saving it for the Open, the U.S. Open. He's got that way of doing things. You can't ignore him. You bet 100, you win 3,300 on him. That's pretty good odds. I'll tell you who's another player, Shane Lowry, really good ball striker, good competitor. Has a pretty good record there. It did good the last time they played there at Oakmont. So he's another player that I might put on my list. But if there was it's either it's either Scottie Scheffler, or if I was picking, I tell you what, I would not be opposed to any dark horse pick. I don't know who it is. You pick them. Uh, you know, I kind of like to look at when I'm picking these tournaments. I like to look and see how the first round goes, and after the first round, the odds are overwhelming that the winner of that tournament will be in the top 10, top 15, top 20. They're overwhelming. So you can go through that top 20 and find your winner right there somewhere. And the winner's not going out there and coming from 40th after the first round to win in this tournament. So after day one, I don't know what they start off with, 156 players, 160 players, whatever they start off with at the U.S. Open. But after day one, it'll be down to 15 or 20 players. And then it becomes a lot easier to pick. So I kind of like to sit on that a little bit. I'll give you a couple dark horses. Here's a dark horse for you. Keegan Bradley is a dark horse. Akshay Bhatia is a dark horse. I like those two guys' games. Those would be my kind of dark horse. And Justin Rose, I give a little bet to Justin Rose too. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do something. He's a former U.S. Open winner, won at Marion, and not far from Oakmont. So those would be my big picks right there. Now, as far as the cut goes, the average U.S. Open cut, I think the last 10 years is like 5 over par. It will be higher this year. That's one you can take to the bank. The cut will be higher this year than 5 over par, and because that's likely to be the winning score. So I can't see somebody barely making the cut and then shooting even par, and winning the golf tournament. I don't see that. So who knows what the cut will be, but I'd bank on it being more than 5 over par. I really love Oakmont. I'm looking forward to watching the tournament. Usually when they have these U.S. Opens, and it's just a beat up the players like they're going to do, it doesn't interest me as much. But I do love Oakmont, and I can't wait to see how they play the golf course and who can handle it and who can't. So I'm looking forward to Oakmont. And I've got fond memories of Oakmont. I'm going to tell you my one Oakmont story. Tiger Woods, Saturday, 2000 U.S. Open. Even after all these years, I still can't believe he didn't win that golf tournament. He played so good there. That golf course is so hard, and he hit the ball so well. But Saturday was the round. He missed the 18th fairway by about a foot. And I remember standing there behind the 18th tee, and I was thinking, if Tiger hits this fairway, this is going to be possibly considered the greatest round of ball striking that has ever been played. He had hit 17 greens up until that point at a U.S. Open at Oakmont, hitting 17 greens, and he missed the fairway by about foot, and you could catch it in the light rough and be okay, but he hit it a foot into the deep rough, and he couldn't get left rough, couldn't get it on the green. No way. As soon as the ball went in the rough, and okay, that's it. He's not going to hit this green. He did every other green up to that point, and if he'd have hit that green, I think that would have gone down as the greatest ball striking round ever played. So I'll never forget that. I wanted him to hit that fairway so bad, and he just missed. I think he hit 3-wood off the tee. Might have hit driver, but barely pulled it. I mean, barely pulled it, and into the rough. Couldn't get it on the green. But I'll never forget that ball striking round that he played. That was something special, and it I also remember him warming up when he was complaining about hitting a couple hooks, and I always thought better to be hooking them than blocking them. And when you get on the course, that hook will go away and things will work out pretty good. And sure enough, they did. He struck it so good, but lost by a shot to Angel Cabrera. That was one of those in the 6 years I helped Tiger Woods that I look back and I think, ooh, man, when we left there, I thought this was a coulda, woulda, shoulda right here. This was definitely a coulda, woulda, shoulda. And I'm sure there's people that can say that every year at the U.S. Open, but that was definitely one that I felt like coulda, woulda, shoulda for Tiger Woods in the at the U.S. Open there. But we'll see what happens this year. I'm going Scottie Scheffler, like I always do. Give me the best player in the world, and he is by far the best player in the world. I hope everybody enjoys watching the U.S. Open. I'll have a little recap coming after the tournament and give you my thoughts. But you watch it all unfold. Just watch them fall by the wayside, one right after. It's just keep your scorecard, and you can just start checking them off. It's not who's going to win, it's who's not going to win. And when everybody that's not going to win is eliminated, you'll have your winner. That's how the U.S. Open goes every single year. Hope everybody enjoyed the podcast. Check out all the great programming on nofilter.net, and we'll talk to you soon on the Hank Haney Podcast.